Now, again, I've been posting my Elliott wave counts, again, laughed at, mocked. I told you over here when we were rallying up over here that, hey, again, when my signals, we hit a peak on January 14th, my signals got it right. They called a peak on January 14th, 15th, 16th, and even some on the 17th as we turned off that pink line there, the 100 period moving average. And what I told you is that we were topping. I told you before, back on January 2nd and 3rd, we were going to rally into the 100 period moving average, just as I told you we were going to rally over here. Here's the head and shoulders. Let me bring this up closer. I just wanted you to see this. I think you're going to have a lopsided, slanted neckline slanting lower. These two Elliott wave counts that I think are most likely, and I told you over here again, the bulls had better pray that this is not the new channel, expanded channel, in which I told you again these trend lines, like here with the log scaling, this trend line right here, or the trend lines I drew with the linear scaling, very similar trend lines. Those are the new falling price channels. And again, I was right. And I told you over here, again, we're not going above 98,900. And I told you we're going to rally and turn off the 100 period. Nailed it. Following along, you remember this. I took advantage of that. Again, adding to my position, my short position at the 100 period moving average. If you follow anything, if you learn anything from me, learn that Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average. So I got rejection added over here and the final exit point, which I talked about that opportunity back then as well. Nevertheless, I digress. Told you right here, we can get a bigger bounce or feeble bounce. We had some signals turning, momentum signals turning back to bullish. And I told you it's possible we get a bigger bounce. But again, I told you regardless of whether we get a bigger bounce or a smaller feeble bounce, right here we're getting rejection. But on the 29th, I told you that it was likely done. I told you whatever size of the bounce we got, it's going to fail. Told you that 80,000 was not the bottom, and again, continue warm. We are going to move to new lows. We did back to this 74,000 area. That's this blue shaded area right here. And again, I believe I told you back on January 14th, 15th, and 16th and 17th there with those levels that we were starting this primary wave 5 in all likelihood with this count, and told you right here when this rally was done that we were going to start crash wave 3 of intermediate wave 3, crash wave 3 of primary wave 5, which is what we're getting. And that's why I told you that wave was likely going to take out primary wave 3 back over here and take out 80,000. So this is what I think is likely going to be the case here with this move. I'm looking for either a 3-leg push down, a larger 3-leg push down, or a 5-leg push down. And again, I have marked it on both of my Elliott wave counts. Now, once we hit my target level, I'm going to be looking for a bottom, looking to close my short positions, looking to flip the trade, and I think you're going to get a big rally. If you go back up, if we hit my target level here at 63,000, then the 50% retracement's at 91,500. The 61.8 Fibonacci is at just under 100,000. And again, you can go back to this 200 period. I've drawn some scenarios in here where it drops and it turns back up, or it keeps dropping, probably going to flatten out, and again, eventually you're going to move towards it. But I think in February or March, you're going to bottom out down here somewhere, get this massive rally back up. And again, if we go down closer to 60,000 with the linear scaling, closer to the 200-week moving average near 58,000. Again, I think you're going to get a big rally back up, and then we'll be looking at the Fibonacci retracements whenever we bottom. But right here, you're likely in crash wave 3, intermediate wave 3 of primary wave 5. I've had this primary wave 5 scenario. I just didn't put it up right when we hit this level. I've talked about the primary wave 4 and the primary wave 5 here, and primary wave 3. I've had this count a very, very long time. It's played out very nicely. So again, we'll be watching, but again, you're probably going to finish crash wave 3 here at some point, more than likely under this 74,000 area as I've marked here, and then get a bigger bounce. So a smaller bounce followed by a bigger bounce followed by more selling, and eventually a bottom coming in maybe late February. I have it marked here going on into March, so we'll see how it plays out. Let's look at this count in the 4-hour time frame. We're rallying up 2.5%. Whoa, here we go. It's a bottom. Hurry up and buy the dip. Yeah, we just dropped 24% from the lower high. When I called the lower high on January 14th, and you saw my indicators that nailed it. Get the same people doing the same nonsense that they did back over here at 80,000. Absolutely incredible. And when we drop some more, then they'll do it again, and we'll get a bigger rally. Whenever we get this intermediate wave forward, then they'll do it again, and then finally down here they'll do it again, and they'll become convinced, absolutely convinced down here that the sell-off is over. The people that never saw the top, that never saw the crash coming, oh, they're the experts that are going to tell us it's over. You can't see the top, you can't see the crash coming. How are you going to call the bottom? My indicators got it right. They're going to call the bottom. They're going to tell me exactly when the bottom happens because I have good indicators. That's why I'm going to play this rally, and then I'm going to short it again all the way down back over here, because when we get it over here, then you're going to see the Bitcoin collapse happen. That takes us into the spring or summer as some of the scenarios I've marked right here. Sell-off is not over. 74,000 is not the bottom, just as I told you 80,000 is not the bottom, just as I told you 100,000 is not the bottom, just as I told you 103,000 is not the bottom, and it's not over. But let's take a look at this price action right here on the 4-hour chart with this wave 3 having completed primary wave 4, and I'll show you the count up close on the 4-hour chart. Please support the channel. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like my charts, if you like my indicators that have been spot on correct, if you like making money, let me know that by supporting my channel. I don't have any sponsors. I turn those offers down. So I just ask that you do what you can to help out. We're not here to sell you something. We're here to talk about Bitcoin. We're here to talk about these amazing turns on Bitcoin. My amazing signals, create my own indicators, and they have just been absolutely nailing it. But I need to hear from you in order to make this work. I just put it all out there for free and just ask that you do what you can to help out. So if you could follow the link below and support the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your consideration for that. Again, my signals, I told you we're going to rally to the 100 period. We got rejection there and it out beautifully here. The feeble rally, we stalled up the 50 period. Told you if we had a feeble rally, it would stall at the 50. If we got a bigger rally, we can go back and back test this trend line again and move closer to the 100 period. We didn't get that. It was just a feeble rally and resumed the crash to take out 80,000. The sell signal was reaffirmed after the relief rally. Relief rally. This is not the big bear market rally I've been predicting. That comes at lower levels. Signals nailed the top. Signals nailed the April bottom. Some momentum signals turned bullish with this rally right here. Others did not. The trend signals still remain bearish. And again, we had these signals, these bearish signals on the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Here it was on the 17th. Rejection at that 100 period moving average. Signals did a very good job. Now we have a small divergence in the 4-hour time frame, and we're getting a bullish signal here. This signal will not be final until the end of the session. The last one, it just gave us a counter trend miniature. Just say that feeble counter trend. Again, people already calling another bottom. The same people that never saw it told us this was the bottom. Oh, no, now this is the bottom. And we're getting a bounce here telling you this is not the bottom. Dropped 24%. Okay, you're going to have bounces along the way. We had a bounce here. We've had this bigger drop now. Take out 80,000. We can get a rally, a bigger rally right now, or a feeble rally, then move to take out today's low. Nothing goes straight down, nothing goes straight up. But again, the signals nailed it here on the 16th, and the signals on the 14th and 15th, couple on the 17th. Beautiful, beautiful signals here. Got the signal, but it only gave us a little feeble counter trend. So what is this? Either a feeble counter trend or maybe a bigger counter trend, but it's going to be followed by more selling. The bars are still bearish. Momentum is still bearish. This is just telling us that, hey, you've had a huge drop, likely to get a bounce. These are just short-term momentum signals that I'm looking at here. Here, the bars, momentum still bearish. It could be, though, that we get a feeble bounce, and then you turn down and you get another signal forming a bullish divergence in the 4-hour time frame on the MACD that you'll see in this video. Now, no signal here yet. Again, we had these other signals that just gave us a feeble counter trend rally. We had these signals marking these peaks over here. These are just short-term momentum signals. And again, my trending signals are still bearish. No signal here. Bars still bearish. Things are still bearish here. These are just my short-term momentum signals. And as I warned, when these momentum signals turned back to bullish, I was getting some short-term momentum that, again, could either be a feeble rally or a bigger rally. And again, don't have any signal here. Signals still remain bearish. After dropping 24%, we're getting a bounce. Here's a 4-hour chart. Now, I told you we had a divergence here, and that's why I told you we were going to get this bounce here, but I told you it was likely going to be a wave 2, whether a feeble wave 2 that stalls at the 200, and we stalled at that 50 period in the daily to 200 here in the 4-hour time frame, or I told you if we get a bigger rally, it's still going to fail. And again, I have no interest in playing these short-term feeble or even bigger bounces. It's stupid to catch a falling knife. That's a dumb strategy, just like hodl. That is about the dumbest strategy that, people that hodl, a lot of them hodl, not, or good majority of them hodl, not by choice, but because they do things, dumb things, like buying a top. Oh, it's a breakout! Or buying these dips that keep on dipping. Again, dumb strategy. Why not sell the position into the rally and buy a bottom or buy something like the April low? Everybody's scared. You're hitting major support. It's just hodl is the most stupidest strategy I think that there is with crypto. Holding a longer term position on Bitcoin, a longer term short position right now, and I'm also swing trading it, but I intend on eventually taking profits on it when the bear market concludes. And then I'm going to do the swing trading all the way down as well. But again, buying and holding, is fine if you have an exit strategy. But the hodl people, they're holding until Bitcoin reaches $1 million or Peter Schiff finally decides to buy Bitcoin. That's when they're going to finally decide to sell. Idea is to gain more Bitcoin. Now here again, I told you we were finishing primary wave 4. Again, I've had these counts going since the top. Talked about the primary wave 1 and 2 and all the rest of it. So again, I told you we finished primary wave 4 on the January 14th. We turned down, dropped about 12%, and then we rallied and we dropped a little bit more. And then we got this another feeble rally, these feeble rallies into the 200 period. That's a black line you see right there as the 50 crossed below it. Talked about that happening. And then we got rejection at the 200 period. So now, and I told you if we got a bigger rally, maybe we would hit a larger Fibonacci retracement. Bitcoin was so weak, it only got a feeble rally. And again, it dropped. Now you're getting the MACD turning back up. There's no bullish divergence. MACD moved to a new low. The RSI moved to a new low. We're probably going to see something like what we had over here, where divergence failed. And again, now we're forming a tiny little divergence right here that will likely turn into a larger, bigger divergence for Bitcoin. And let me just update my percentage drop because Bitcoin's dropped down to 24% since I worked on this chart. We went a little bit lower, but you form this divergence right here, this little divergence, and that's giving us this bounce right here that we're getting right here. There is no divergence on the MACD. Pring parameters still in the negative region, which I told you about again after we peaked right there. I told you it was being confirmed with Pring parameter going into the negative region, breaking down from the bear flag, continuation, and again, laughed at and mocked about all this, but yet, oh gee, we've now dropped 24% with the lower high. Just as we dropped 36% over here, we've now dropped a total of 41%. My indicators continue to be correct. There is no bullish divergence here. You're likely going to see one. Again, possible, as I said, it's possible we get the bigger bounce off of 74,000 here, or get a feeble bounce and then drop and then get the bigger bounce below 74,000. Doesn't matter. Again, the rally is going to fail. Eventually we're going lower, but I've marked this as 1, 2, and again, we're likely in crash wave 3 that is probably not over yet. Possibly getting a 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe a 5 below, as I've talked about taking out 74,000, possibly seeing something like this, where you get this rally and then you eventually have it fail and then you come down. I don't know if that 5-leg count is correct. There are other ways I can count it, but what I can tell you for sure, just as I told you back over here, the 80,000 is not the bottom. I can tell you for sure, for certain, that 74,000 is not the bottom and this rally will fail. I warned you we could bounce off 74,000 and we are. Let me just bring this up close just so you can see it. And again, I can get a 5-leg push out of this where we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 for the wave 1, possibly wave 1 here, wave 2. These are intermediate waves, and again, minor waves right here. Are we in 3 or did 3 complete here? It's still under construction. And then we get a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and so forth. So again, looking at these possible little minor waves after intermediate wave 2 completed at that 200 period moving average. So again, a couple of different ways I can count it or look at it. But regardless, again, this is not the bottom. The bullish divergence on the RSI and here on the histogram of the MACD has given us this little bounce. But again, eventually this rally will fail. I showed you my count here where again this count says that we're in this crash wave 3, intermediate wave 3, a primary wave 5, and then we'll get a bounce. So again maybe we get a smaller bounce here, come down, break 74,000, and again remember I told you we were going to go down to 70 to 74,000. Well, now we've hit 74,000 here. That was our low today. Now we're trying to rebound. Currently we're at 78,000. We're trying to bounce off this support level here, this horizontal support level that I've talked about, going back to 74,000, which again, that's where I called that bottom. And then I told you we were going back there, but eventually I told you we'd take it out. So it's possible we get a bottom and try to form a right shoulder around the 74,000 area. I think that a 5-leg push down or a larger 3-leg push down, much lower than 80,000 is more likely given Bitcoin's history of big drops to kick off the bear market. So here I have it marked as a 5-leg push down. My alternative count is we get a 3-leg push down, and let me show you that. Keep this count in your mind. We look at the other alternative count. Here's my alternative count. This is a linear scaling. The other scaling was a log scaling, and remember again, I warned you that with the linear scaling, you have these trend lines back over here from these lows connected to the low here with the dark black line. Here's the solid line there. That's connected to the bottoming tail 80,000. And then if we exclude the shadow, these lows right here. And I told you, hey, I'm correct about the expanded channel and we're going down to new lows. The moon boys had better pray that that is not lower high and that I'm not correct at turning off the 100 period moving average and the upper boundary of the bear flag, because if I'm correct about it, guess what? We're dropping back down maybe to one of these trend lines. We're the trend line with our log scaling, but if this drags out with Bitcoin here with the linear scaling, hey, you can go down towards that 200-week moving average near 58,000. So keep that in mind because that's where these lines are. So that's why I said they better start praying. Now this is my alternative count. And again, this count really has some possibilities. It really does. I've marked this as a larger WXY. In the blue here, you can see it. I've marked this as an A, a B, and a C. And this is a W. WXY is a complex correction in Elliott wave. And then an ABC back up for an X. Okay. And then again, I called another lower high. Told you we were going to get a measured move, a continuation of this first leg down. We're going to get the second leg down. The stock market will play catch up. And Bitcoin did exactly that. It got rejection at the trend line and the upper boundary of the bear flag and the 100 period moving average. So I've marked this as a possible ABC, and again A, B, and then now C down here, and then that giving us intermediate wave A. These are minor waves right here for this count. Then you get an intermediate wave B, and then you get an intermediate wave C, and that completes primary wave Y in a complex WXY, and that gives us A. And then you're going to rally back up and get your B. And again, here with the linear scaling, if we come down here, and I've marked this at 58,000 to this trend line right here, so just the 58,000 level, if we were to see something like that happen, you could go back above 100,000. It is very, very possible, depending on where that 200 period moving averages comes in at. It's going down right now, but once we bottom out and start rallying back up, it could flatten out and even start turning back up. That's what happened in the last bear market. So whether we go into the 90,000 range, 93, 94, 97, 98, whatever, or try to go above 100,000, Still possible. It's going to be a bear market rally. And again, how low do we go? Do we go down to 58,000? Do we go to 60 to 63,000? But again, you're likely going to hit one of these trend lines and either hear the linear scaling with the linear scaling or with that log scaling that I showed you with my other count. And the trend lines are slightly different. Most people just look at linear scaling, which is what we have right here. I look at both log and linear to get good information from both. I think the question really becomes, and I think Bitcoin will bottom out in February or March, but the question really becomes, and I think it'll bottom out, the stock market will play catch up, but it might bottom before the stock market does. It did do that in last bear market. Bitcoin bottomed and began to rally. Stock market sold off in January of 2008, rallied up, and then it moved to new lows in February. Bitcoin did not converge with the stock market. See Bitcoin bottoming first ahead of the stock market, maybe, or maybe they bottomed together like they did back on April 7th with Trump's tariffs. We'll see. But do we get a 5-leg push lower, as I talked about, in a 5-leg push with primary wave 5, or do we get an ABC structure with this first ABC, or maybe, as I said, a complex correction with a smaller WXY and this larger WXY? It can play out both ways. It's still early, too early to tell. Marked it here as an ABC. For the intermediate waves. So do we unfold in a 3-leg structure down, or does it unfold in a 5-leg structure down as I've marked right here? We're in crash wave 3. So as I told you when we were rallying up that it was going to be followed by either this crash wave 3 or crash wave C, and C's and 3s tend to be ugly waves when they're bearish. So which is this? We'll be watching. Both of these counts have real possibilities. Both of them are still very much in play. Okay, it is Monday, February 2nd, and it is still a bad day to be bullish on Bitcoin. People just can't understand. Bitcoin's getting a bounce after dropping 24% from the lower high, when I called a lower high, January 14th, at the 100 period moving average, predicting we would stall there before we ever reached it. Now here in the weekly time frame, we closed down. Right now we're bouncing. We're trying to bounce after dropping 24%. We started the week off dropping lower. We were down 22%, then we dropped 24, then we dropped another 2%, down to drop 24% here, and now we're attempting a bounce. There's going to be bounces along the way. The collapse that I warned you about at this trend line, I told you we were going to collapse to new lows. I warned you going back to the daily chart here. I warned you we were going to test this 74,000. Oh, what did we do? We hit 74,000. I told you we were either going to come to 74,000, bounce, and then take it out, or take out 74,000 and get a bounce. Again, it looks like you're probably going to get a smaller bounce here and then take it out, probably get a bigger bounce. Again, as I told you, right after we hit the 100 period moving average, I told you we could very well primary wave 5. And then when I told you about the bounce here, I told you once it's done, we're going to likely start crash wave 3 if we have 5-leg push lower. My Elliott wave counts. There's my other alternative count. This unfolds in a 3-leg push down in an ABC. I'll show you those counts in just a moment. But I talked about the measured move, and again, laughed at, mocked, just like they mocked me and laughed at me up here and at the final exit point. And why did I tell you we were going to rally? Down over here on January 2nd, late December, January 2nd, January 3rd, I told you we were going to rally up to this trend line, to the 100 period moving average. My signals turned back to bullish. Warned you about that. I warned you we were going to get this rally back over here before it started. I told you back over here and then back over here on January 2nd, 3rd, we're not going above 98,900 because, again, Bitcoin follows a 100 period moving average, and you had that resistance trend line, and you had the 100 period moving average of 38.2 Fibonacci. How many people would dare to make such a bull call? Have it happen. I had some guy try to tell me that I've not called for Bitcoin to collapse down to 74,000 and continue, and the sell-off's not over. And down here, the people make things up when they're proven wrong, and I'm proven right because I have good indicators. You have to lie about what you've said. Now, if you've watched my videos, know, again, that I've called a top, predicted this sell-off. I've been calling for a 40 to 50% drop, and I think it's going to be over 50% for the entire decline. I got attacked up at the top because I flipped from bullish to bearish, but as you can clearly see, I made the right decision. It was correct, but again, some people don't have the ability to flip back and forth. I do. I'm telling you, when this measured move, and this measured move, this is this bear flag or rising wedge with the red lower boundary there. This is a continuation of this. And if we get a continuation of this, you're going down to 61,000. That's where it measures to, near that 200-week moving average that I just showed you. But we've dropped 24%. Oh, the bottom's in. Hurry up, buy the dip. Hurry up. Again, I have no interest in buying the dip that keeps on dipping. I continue to say every rally in a bear market is a bull trap. You've got this as a bigger bull trap. You've had these smaller bull traps, the final exit point, and all the other counter trends we've talked about along the way, which again, I've called those counter trends correctly with my signals if you've been following along. So again, we're going to bounce. Where we're bouncing, we're up 2.84% right now in the daily time frame. And again, looking on X a little bit ago, one of my favorite Moo Boys already calling another bottom. Why? Because they continue to be proven wrong. If they don't continue with the perma-bull propaganda, then people won't listen to them anymore. Again, this is not over. You're going to get a bounce, and again, you're headed down here. But beautiful, beautiful collapse. And again, if you've been following along, we've dropped 41% from the high. If you've been following along, doing what I did, again, closing long positions and going short, you caught most of that move. Protected yourself by closing your long positions. Never sell your Bitcoin. Look, the idea for me is to get more Bitcoin, okay? If you're a hold through the entire bear market, how is that helping you? The idea is to sell Bitcoin, make profits on it, and then have the money to buy more Bitcoin when it goes on sale. Isn't that what we all want? Is more Bitcoin? Isn't that what the goal is? Why be a perma bear? The people that didn't sell, they're now down 41%, getting a bounce today, but they've lost 41% through the decline. Had they taken profits, they could buy Bitcoin at much, much lower prices at a really discount price. That is exciting to me. That is my goal. So again, going to continue to try to short here. Then I'm going to try a long, and then after the bear market rally, the Bitcoin's going to collapse. Going to drop 80 to 90%. Oh, that's ridiculous. Come on. We've now dropped 41%. I've been right so far. We're in a confirmed bear market. Let's all grow up. Let's get a reality check here. I still have people, that's ridiculous. You gotta be kidding. Stop smoking the loco weed. Stop. It's distorting your thinking process. Absolutely incredible. Now my brain, I'm firing on all four pistons.